because of our gross misconduct in the Senate that led us to a 6-month suspension where Kogi Central will not be represented at the National Assembly, the Senate arm. So I've come to recall her back so that we can have a representative in the Senate, because as a people, we cannot afford not to have a representative in the Senate arm for another 1 year. So we are here to tell Inec to please follow the constitutional process for our recall so that our recall process can begin. That's why we're here.
Who knows the whereabouts of this lady I'm displaying now? We know her role and involvement in the recall process. I mean, this agent of Yahaya Bello and Ododo. Madam, how market? A woman like you, now they give you peanuts, say they fight. Somebody who have gone where you will never be to. I want Nigeria to recognize faces like this, because I know that she's already a politician in the government. We need to recognize them. People like this shouldn't be in our political system. Somebody that can collect peanuts and do rubbish in the name of politics, speaking English. We are recalling her when you are not even from her constituency. You are not from her senatorial district. Any Asha, now that the Inec have said this,
we need to hear from Inec and understand the dynamics of what Inec has gone through. There are a lot of issues. First and foremost, allegations that Inec, first of all, put out a statement, removed it, and went back. And there are a lot of people who were watching from the sideline to say, we want to see what Inec is going to do. And now it's partisan. There are the side who want Senator Natasha out of the Senate, and there are those who are saying, no, we do not want her. Can you clarify and clear the air about what really happened?
Thank you very much, Shehu, and a very good evening to your listeners. INEC was never partisan. The recall process is provided for in the Constitution that we reference, Section 69 and Section 110. And INEC is the institution given the mandate to undertake the recall process. Now, the thing is simple. According to our regulations and guidelines, constituents in a constituency who wish to recall their representatives will write a petition to the commission, a cover letter. But more importantly, this petition will be accompanied by signatures of more than 1/2 of the total number of registered voters in that constituency. Now, when we receive that petition, the first thing we do is to notify the member sought to be recalled. We will copy the presiding officer of the Legislative House, and then we try to ascertain the number of signatures accompanying the petition. Now, in the case of the Kogi Central District, we received the petition and we received the cover letter. And of course, what Nigerians were saying was that we were taking sides. But what happened was, in the covering letter, the representatives of the petitioners did not include their address as required in our regulations and guidelines. And what we just did was to ask them to supply that address. It has nothing to do with the petition. And of course, there is nowhere in the law where INEC is asked to reject a petition just because the cover letter did not contain the address. So there was no hanky-panky in what we did. Now, having received the petition, we notified the member sought to be recalled. We copied the presiding officer, and then we did the preliminary thing, which is to ascertain the number of signatures, whether it is up to 1/2, that's 50% plus 1 of the total number of registered voters in the senatorial district. And we also issued a statement, to the public that, well, this is what we are doing. Now, it is only when that process is successfully completed that we can move to the verification stage. Normally in a recall, after ascertaining the number of signatures and, establishing that it is more than 1/2 of the total number of registered voters in that constituency, we then move to verification, which is one of the most critical steps that we take on our way to the final stage. And what is verification? Verification takes place normally in the constituency. We go there, we have to cover all the polling units, we deploy our resources, and the petitioners, the list of signature becomes the register of petitioners. We don't use our registered voter register in that instance. We go with the register of petitioners containing the list of names and the signatures that of the people that signed. And all those that signed the petition are expected to come out. Not just coming out, you have to bring your permanent voter's card, and we will use our BVAS, bimodal voter accreditation system, to accredit, to authenticate your PVC. Now, it's like a normal election. We open the polling unit at 8:30, we close at 2:30. At the end of the process, at the polling unit level, just like normal election, the verification results is declared. Then, of course, we go to the ward level, collate and declare. Then, of course, we go to the local government level stage, collate and declare before we go to the constituency. So it's a rigorous process, really.
All right.
Now, okay.
Okay, in all of this, the requirement there's a constitutional requirement, section 69, section 69 sub A. And there is also, perhaps a lot of people do not understand that INEC also is empowered to set up a regulation to undergo this process. All of the processes are not stated in the Constitution. So there is a regulation that INEC has put together to guide the processes of recall. Let me ask you, there are two modes of registering the grievance against the lawmaker sought to be recalled. It's either by signature or by tampering. And there are allegations that there are fake signatures. There are fake, that some of these constituents are not even aware that their signatures were imputed. Did INEC realize or did INEC discover any discrepancy, or you couldn't even get to that stage? Because as soon as we saw the number that was insufficient, you just aborted the process. Is that what happened?
Thank you, Sean. The first thing we do, according to our regulations, is to ascertain the number of signatures, whether it meets the threshold of 50% plus 1. And that was all that we did. And by the time we physically audited the number of signatures, it did not meet the threshold. Now, concerning the forgeries that people talked about, it is at the verification stage that all that will come out. Because you see, at the verification stage, which is very critical, all those who signed the petition must come and themselves. And we will do that using the BVAS. So you can't have a ghost come out to verify himself or herself. So that's very critical. And if after the verification process, we cannot get the 50% plus 1, the process will stop at that point as well.
Now, what lesson do you think INEC has learned? There is a Senator Dino Melaye situation, which also did not see the light of day, and now you're saying Senator Natasha Akpabio. What lesson do you think INEC are taking away from this very one?
Well, the lesson is that we shall always be prepared, and we shall always expect citizens to exercise their right. It's a constitutional matter. The Constitution gives constituents the right to recall their representative if they no longer have confidence. And no one can predict when this will happen. And our own lesson is that we must be prepared for any eventuality like this. And of course, we are prepared because we have our regulations and guidelines. We have the asset, we have the resources. If it comes to going to do verification, if it comes to going for a referendum, we will have been able to do that as well.
We're already getting some reactions, and those who are agitated about this process and saying that they will liaise with INEC with the full ambit of the Constitution and regulation, and to demand for transparency in the handling of the petition, and that they have utmost confidence in the Commission, but they're thinking that the whole nation needs to be put in copy of how INEC realized all of these processes. I think there are a lot of people who are still aggrieved about the fact that you have come to this point. And officially, I guess that you have informed the lawmaker and you have informed the petitioners to say this has come to the end. Because I know that under your regulation and under the law, as soon as a recall fails, can the petitioner or any other person in the life of the term of that lawmaker, can they start another process of recall for that lawmaker? What does the law say?
Well, I don't think the law talked about whether there could be a repeat or not. The law just talks about the threshold. The threshold meaning that if you want to recall, you must have, in addition to your petition, 50% plus 1 signatures. Okay, the law did not specify how many times you can undertake that. If you check section 69 of the Constitution, it didn't limit the number of times you can recall a lawmaker or a representative.